guys, Montez J here. I am the editor for this channel, and I also will be letting you guys know when we have new projects coming up. But this video is the first in a series that this channel will be doing on scary Reddit stories. My friend Ron F is the narrator, so without further ado, here are 6 stories from Reddit. And don't forget to like, sub, comment, and share. And if you have any ideas of projects that I can do in the future, let me know.
Every summer I go camping at the same campsite with my grandparents, and I was probably 10 years old when this happened, so I don't remember everything. The campsite had separated showers and bathrooms for both male and female campers. One night I decided to go take a shower. My gran was camping a few spots over from ours, having drinks with friends, and I didn't want to pull her away. My grandpa couldn't take me into the shower, so I went alone. Fucking stupid, right? Anyway, as I was approaching the showers, I heard a man probably in his late 30s screaming many things at what seemed like 2 girls. It was late, and it was pretty dark, so I'd have to get a closer look to see them. When I took a turn toward the building, I saw that the man that was probably the one yelling, waiting outside of the girls' bathroom door. Me being an innocent tater tot, I didn't think anything of it. I was walking towards the door that the man was standing by, and I said, "Excuse me, sir, people are trying to sleep." Even as a child, I was pretty brave. But something about him made me feel like I had to run the other way. He turned to me, and I finally saw what his face looked like. He was a black man with a scruffy beard, and he was wearing a black hood that covered his head. And he laughed at me and put his hand on my shoulder and said, "I'm sorry, sweetie, I'll keep it down." After that, I rushed into the shower room. Once I closed the door and locked it, I guess he heard the lock turn because he whispered, "Fuck," and knocked on the door and asked if I could unlock it for him. I ignored it because I heard a whimper behind me. There was an older lady and a little girl who I guess was her daughter. The mother was holding onto her daughter in the corner, and this made me very concerned. I asked her what was wrong. She said very, very quietly, "That man is trying to abduct us." She sobbed and buried her head into the girl's neck. I told her I would go get help, and at first she didn't want me to go near him again. But I told her I know this camp like the back of my hand, which I do. I think that guy didn't realize there's another exit. Criminals these days, jeez. I told her to stay here and lock the door after I leave. I ran to the front desk and told the lady working there that there was a man scaring 2 girls that are hiding in the bathroom. I could tell she was terrified, and she tried to be calm with me. She called what I guess was the police, because a few minutes later I heard sirens. I wasn't allowed to leave the office, but when I saw the police trucks leave, I saw the man in the back seat. He looked at me with such an evil smile. My grandparents were notified, but they never said anything to me other than, "You probably just saved 2 lives today." I didn't really think about this story till now, many years later, because I just got a call today that my grandparents wanted to have a family gathering at the same campsite. I'm going to attend, but scary bathroom creeper, I hope I never meet you again. So this happened to me last year. Before I say what creeped me out, I have to explain why this man came around. I live in a south suburb of Chicago, and we were experiencing a lot of rain and a lot of flooding in our basement. Our sump pump was not able to flush the water out that was coming in, but me, my dad, and my sister were able to get most of the water out on our own. Fast forward to a couple days later, I was watching TV and playing with my cat, and I saw an outline of someone coming up to the door. It was around 1 o'clock when my doorbell rang, and from where I was on the couch, I could clearly see there was a man standing there. I didn't get up to open the door because 1, I was a 22-year-old female, and 2, I would have no way to fight him off. He kept ringing the doorbell and knocking until I got up to answer. When I opened the door, this guy's in a white t-shirt, jeans, and a duffel bag standing there. I ask, "How can I help you?" This guy responds,
"I've been getting a lot of calls from people in this neighborhood that their basements are flooding, and I've been fixing their sump pumps. Your neighbors told me yours needed to be fixed. Lead me to your basement and I check it out for you."
Watching a lot of movies and crime shows, I was feeling uneasy about this. I told him, "We're fine, my dad and I had it fixed. Thank you, though." At this point, he kept asking, trying to get into my house, wanting to go into the basement. I could tell he was starting to get mad. Note, we have a screen door before you actually go out onto the porch. As he's arguing with me, I'm slowly making my way to the lock on the screen door. He saw me doing this and tried to open the door, but it's too late for him. I closed the main door, locked it, and then went to the patio door to make sure that it was locked. My mom was pulling up into the driveway as she saw him drive away. I told her what happened and asked my neighbors if this man had gone to their house to check their sump pumps. They had no idea what I was talking about. To this day, I'm nervous when strangers or even people I don't know knock on my door. I had nightmares for a couple days. Creepy guy who wanted to fix my sump pump, I hope we never meet again. We still don't know who it was to this day. This happened in the early to mid-90s. The calls were directed at my mom, but they were about my sister. It was a male voice. He would call every night around 11 p.m. and ask for my mom. It started innocent enough by hanging up or calling her a whore until it moved on to my sister. Creepy, sinister things like,
She looked really cute today walking to school with that red bow in her hair. Cute ponytail this morning.
or
I was pointing at her this morning. Could have killed her if I wanted to. Gonna shoot her like a dog and I'm gonna let her die on the street.
really terrible stuff. My mom, of course, freaked out and contacted the police. They ended up tapping our phone line, and they eventually caught the person. They never let us know who it was. I don't know if that's legal or how the process is, but the police never told my parents who it was. Supposedly they couldn't. But they told them the issue was resolved, and that this person would never bother us again. This was in South America, by the way. My mom kind of has an idea of who it could have been. Everything points to my aunt from my father's side, who hated my mother and my sister. My sister's not my dad's biological daughter, and who in the past had tried to harm them through witchcraft, LOL. I kid you not, that one's also creepy, but I don't think it belongs in this sub. Hey guys, this story happened to me back when I was 10 or 11 years old, and when I didn't think it was too strange at the time, over the years I found it stranger and stranger. So, my younger brother used to play the saxophone, and he had this recital thing going on that my parents forced me to go to. In the middle of all the performances, there was an intermission, so I stepped outside to get some air and play my new Pokemon game I'd snuck with me. When I got outside, there were these two Jamaican guys. I could tell by their very thick accents. Say they were in their early 30s. They were just making small talk with each other and didn't notice me hanging around nearby. After a few minutes, I heard one of them say, "Hold on, let's just ask him," and they approached me. One of them said, "Excuse me, what's your name?" I told them my name, and the one that asked me the question looked very surprised, got behind me. He put his hands on my shoulders, though not forcefully, and turned me to face his comrade. "Mon," he said to his friend, "you're looking at the savior of our world. This little boy, it's him." The other guy, who hadn't said anything, just studied me with his eyes and nodded. I was very confused, as you probably infer, and wasn't exactly sure what to say to them. However, at that moment, my grandmother came out to have a cigarette, saw this guy with his hands on my shoulders, and very quickly and angrily pulled me away from them and pulled me back inside. We never spoke about it, but to this day I wonder exactly what they meant and what their intentions were. Sometimes I assume the worst. So, oddball Jamaican dudes that thought I was the savior of their world, let's not meet again, just in case. Back in 2007, Auckland, New Zealand, my single mother and I moved into a new house. It was a small house, but had a huge backyard with huge trees in it, 20 to 30 meters tall, 66 to 99 feet. My mother and I were feeling lonely, so we decided to buy a dog. Once we got her, we decided to go to doggy clubs and dog parks so our little fluff ball could socialize with other small puppies. At one of our clubs, my mother met this middle-aged man who owned two little spoodles, a spaniel poodle. My mother adores spoodles, but in New Zealand they're hard to come by. He said he was a dog breeder, and he liked to keep rare breeds for himself occasionally. My mother and I got to like the man, so he invited us to his house. This is where things start to get creepy. He owned a single-floor house, and he had a large shed out in his yard where he kept his breeding dogs. He took us inside, and to our shock, we were greeted by several other dogs. The dogs were rare breeds, as he said, and I, the dog lover, sat down and gave them hugs. I noticed all of them reeked of semen and had small scars behind their ears. I decided to put this down to the nature of his work. My mother sat down in the living room, and the man asked me to fetch a soda drink from the gray fridge in his garage. When I opened the door, I saw poisonous chemicals littered across the shelves. Cyanide, pesticides, you name it. Anything you can legally buy that was poison that stuff was in there. I panicked a little and looked for the gray fridge to grab my drink and get out of there. I noticed a small white one hidden in the corner, partially covered by a tarpaulin smeared with blood. I quickly got my drink and I left. I told my mother about this once we left, and she put it down to an overactive, albeit gory imagination. She told me that she invited him over for dinner in 3 days' time, as it was a holiday important to his culture. Matariki for those interested. He came over and acted quite normally, had dinner, and left. But then at the next dog club meeting, he wasn't there. And the next, and the next, and so on. 2 months later, we found dead animal parts around our house. We thought it was weird and ignored it until my dog ate a piece and got violently sick. We took her to the vets and had her stomach pumped. The vets told us that the dead animal flesh was laced with pesticides and dangerous chemicals, and we were told not to let our dog out. 2 days later, I go out to grab the lawnmower and I find a dead dog, not mine, with his head missing and strung up from the legs by one of our trees. I tell my mom, and the police start an investigation, but find nothing. Several days pass, and my mom, who's gardening, finds dead dogs, cats, and canaries hung and littered all around the same tree where the last dog was hung from. Oddly enough, there's no blood. My mother immediately calls the police. They arrive and decide to put a 24/7 watch on our house. I thought this was weird at the time, since it's just creepy animal cruelty. A couple days later, they catch the culprit, and it's not other than the guy my mother invited. Turns out he's a zoophile and has broken into people's houses, killed, raped, and ate pets alive. He's been on the run for over 12 years in Auckland and is notorious for poisoning pieces of meat, leaving them in dog-heavy areas like dog parks, vet clinics, and dog schools. He was charged with over 100 cases of breaking and entering, stalking, animal abuse, rape, trespassing, robbery, possession of illegal chemicals, vandalism, and possession of a firearm. He got up to 80 years in jail, but ended up raping and killing a fellow inmate and later killed himself after receiving life in maximum security. What's really scary is he seemed like a nice, kind guy. I still wonder how many fucked up people function like us and never get noticed. This is a story my friend told me that happened to her older sister. She goes to a large private religious university in Utah. She was staying in an apartment not too far from campus with 3 other girls. The semester had just started out and 2 of the 3 girls were asleep. My friend's sister was on her phone, sitting in the living room, when she heard what sounded like footsteps outside the window behind her. She listened closely and dismissed it as a stray cat or a dog. Soon after, though, she heard a thud against the dining room wall coming from the outside and heard what sounded like muffled whispering. My friend's sister's an excellent marksman, so she decided to scare whoever was outside off by opening the blinds, turning on the lights, and grabbing the shotgun she kept on the mantel and pointing it at the window while screaming for the other girls to wake up. She saw a short man wearing all black and a ski mask running away. The cops came shortly after and she filed a report. Fast forward to a few weeks later, my friend's sister keeps seeing a small white truck with tinted black windows following her. She dismisses it as her imagination, but it freaks her out a little bit. One weekend, her roommate's gone out of town, so it's just her by herself. Right as she's trying to fall asleep, she hears a pounding at her door. She bolts to the door, looks to the peephole, and sees a cop standing there. "Who are you?" she asks.
I'm a cop,
Says the guy.
Open up, it's the law.
He yells menacingly. My friend's starting to call bullshit, but she's scared of disobeying him if he actually is a cop. "Why are you here so late?" she asks.
Remember a few weeks ago when that guy tried to break into your house? I've done an update on him.
My friend's freaking out now because why would a cop come to talk to her about the case so late and by himself? He wasn't even the officer who helped her fill out the report. "Show me your badge," she demanded. He pulled it out and shoved it into the peephole, and my friend sighed a breath of relief. Right as she was unlocking the door, she glanced down at his legs and noticed the cop had very elevated platform boots, a machete on his utility belt, and the name on his uniform didn't match the name on his badge. "You're not a fucking cop," she yelled at him. The fake cop screamed and started slamming on the door saying,
I am an officer of the law and you will obey me. Open up, police.
She called 911 and held her weight behind the front door, clutching the shotgun until the cops arrived. The guy was long gone by then, but left behind his cap, which was a prop from a party store. The day after this, my friend broke her lease, moved to a new city in Utah, transferred schools, and bought a Doberman to keep her company. They never caught the guy, so hopefully he never does this to another girl again.